Hey, it's Coach Taylor here from SmarterTeamTraining.com. I got a chance to, like I guess most people, watch a lot of clips on YouTube and follow a lot of people on Facebook. And one time I got a chance to watch a young man share a ton of passion about coaching kids on YouTube. And I really got hooked on him. His name's Klika. And we've never met in person. We've gone back and forth a couple times on email, a couple times on Facebook, and interacting that type of way, that social media way. And he actually posted a really cool video clip on Facebook. And just the other day, we've probably been going back and forth probably a year and a half now. And the other day, I said, now's the time, man. The video clip you shared is something that says that we got to go. And he instantly fired back with an email. And hours after that, it feels like we're on the phone together. And Brett, man, I'm really very excited to have you on, obviously. I applaud your passion for helping young kids and in the fat loss community and the personal trainers and the impact that you're making in a positive sense across the country, not just out in San Diego. And I'm excited to have you on the show and learn from you, big dog.
Well, hey, thanks a lot, Rob. I mean, likewise. The sentiments are the same on this side, what you're doing with the show, and I followed you as well, so it's an honor to be on the show.
Brett, man, I know a little bit about your background just from the conversations we had leading up here, obviously, and you even told me some things that I did not know. Could you tell me a little bit about how you got involved in the field, where your passion lies, and kind of what you got going on now, my man?
I got into this in this field of human performance. I'm not going to call it sports performance necessarily, but human performance. I was a lifelong athlete. I was a soccer player and a runner, and went that route. And then as you got to that college level, I realized that I needed to do something that I loved for the rest of my life. And so I'd kind of done some things, got some things in place to the point where I got an internship right out of college to work at the Olympic Training Center in San Diego. I actually lived there as an intern the year before the Sydney Olympics. And so that was really my first. I had coached as an intern as well in the NCAA environment at Oregon State, working with football and working with all the different teams. And that's really, I thought that was going to be my direction with athletic experience and all that. And then living at the Olympic Training Center was an unbelievable experience. Right before the Olympics, my internship was over. I started working with the canoe and kayak team, more as a strength coach and as a team coordinator. As soon as the Olympics were over, there's literally it's a ghost town. There's literally tumbleweeds going through the middle of the dorms there, and so I realized I needed to move on. And about that time, Todd Durkin was opening Fitness Quest 10. And I went in. I decided that I wanted to stay in San Diego. I'd been in Oregon, and I wanted to make a living doing this. And so I started personal training and working not only with individual, young athletes, high school athletes, but I started working with everyday moms and pops. And through that process, prior to college, in playing sports, I'd worked with kids starting from about the age of 15 in soccer camps and different things. And so that's something I brought to Fitness Quest in my experience working not only with the elite athletes but with kids, and I helped start the youth athletic program there. And since then, it really, my passions have lied. It's kind of funny starting thinking that athletics were going to be my everything. My passions really have gone across the board at realizing that whether I'm working with a child, an elite athlete, or mom and dad, their expectation, their need for performance in their life, in the context of their life, performance is going to mean something different. And I get really excited about helping them reach that level of performance in the context of their life. So with a young kid, it could be just making a varsity team or a junior varsity team, or just getting some self-confidence so they continue to exercise for the rest of their life and change their personality. And it could be with a mom and dad. It could be a new lease on life. It could be part of their personal performance program that ties together how they feel, how they perform at work, how they perform at home. And obviously for any elite level athlete, we get into talking about advancing their career, preventing injury, and helping them do what they love and feeding their family at the same time and help them do it better. So that's really where I came from in all this. And really the kids thing is something that's near and dear to my heart, because that's what I started with, and I've really noticed, I think, across the board that the health of our nation is in peril. And if I'm on the front lines as a personal trainer and a healthcare professional, strength coach, then the biggest impact I'm going to make is with the next generation, is with what's coming up. It's going to be the future. I mean, let's create a future of happy, healthy, pain-free adults, since that's become my mantra. And it's something that really drives me every day. And when I get an opportunity to work with kids and instill things that when I see them down the line, I know that we made that difference early on, so we're not going to have to deal with some of the health maladies, with the pain, the agony, the suffering that you see on the other end. And I'm talking about obese moms and dads. I'm talking about elite-level athletes that I've worked with that I look at them and say, if I could have reverse engineered your training process back to when you were 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 years old, we could have prevented a lot of the things that are going to make it so it's tough for you to walk for the rest of your life after your career.
I want to talk a little bit about your training approach here, and I'm sure our conversation is jump back and forth between several different topics. But if somebody walked into Fitness Quest 10 to get a chance to work with you, whether they were a young individual by chronological age or someone who is not, but from the training age aspect, they are young, what's one thing that you would get them started with doing, or do you just throw them right into a program?
Well, the first, I never throw someone right into a program, because a program would suggest that there's a strategy. And to form a strategy, you have to have some sort of baseline. You wouldn't run out of the woods. If I'm going hiking, I don't just run out of the woods. I take a map, I kind of plan it out. And so when people come in, and I like what you said, chronological age, a big problem, I think one of the biggest mistakes a lot of coaches make is they're married to chronological age. So they get a 20-year-old and they train a 20-year-old like they think they should train a 20-year-old. Well, I've worked with 20-year-olds that can't crawl, they can't roll over, they can't skip, some of the most basic body movement patterns. You want to meet a group of people that's physically unprepared, look at the 40-year-olds, look at 50-year-olds, and people are bringing them into gyms and throwing them on equipment and throwing them into these elite-level programs, and they can't do the basis of movement. So now I begin my assessment process the first day. Part of our warm-up is a movement assessment. And I love the functional movement screen. Obviously, that's part of the program. But I want to see, can you crawl? Can you skip? Can you roll? Do you have adequate grip strength? Can you hang from a bar? And obviously, if someone's very overweight, if I have an older client, I'm not going to do that because I'm concerned with shoulder stability. But I essentially reverse engineer everybody way back to the beginning. And I base my entire programming on the basic level fundamental movement patterns, and if they can't do those, we are not progressing. If you can't do a squat facing the wall where your face isn't smashing into the wall at a reasonable distance from the wall, we're not doing jump squats. I'm not loading their spine with a bar. If they can't hip hinge with a dowel to where I'm convinced that they can keep a straight spine and hinge at the hip, we're not going to be doing Olympic liftings. We're not going to be doing things that require explosive hip movement because it's not there. So we're going to reverse engineer from there. We're going to be on the floor. We're going to be crawling. We're going to be climbing, skipping, marching. And it's unbelievably, a lot of people from the outside, it looks so simple until they jump in. And it's absolutely, especially for adults, they can't believe it. And I really had an epiphany. I worked with a whole men's soccer league. It was one of the men's bar leagues, and I played in it. And I said, hey, this league's a boneyard. Can I help you guys out here? Let's run some clinics. I'll run a safety or injury prevention clinic. We get 70 guys to show up, and about 15 could skip. About 20 of them could stop on command with any sort of decelerative pattern. No one could crawl. I sort of noticed this, and this was about 6-7 years ago. I was like, wait, what am I doing with adults? I'm sticking into these programs, and the same with kids. A very, very unprepared legion of kids coming up into our programs, and we just assume the first day that, well, okay, you'll just do light barbell squats. Well, no, they can't do body weight squats. They don't have the body awareness to really do anything advanced. So my programming is going to reverse engineer it down to the most fundamental movement patterns, regardless of chronological age.
Again, I've seen a lot of your videos there, and not to say I've seen all of them, but some of the ones I've seen have actually been involved with the warm-up process and even some of the cool-down kind of concepts, and some of them are pretty creative, which I think is, again, a lot of fun. And if you get an opportunity to make an impact on somebody, it sounds like you're definitely taking it. What's one really cool approach that you take to those two things that are generally overlooked? A lot of times people say, hey, just jump on a treadmill, 10 minutes later come back, or cool down is just, grab a foam roller and stretch. What are some things that you're doing there to really emphasize those two aspects of a program?
Well, I think the number one thing, realize a dynamic warm-up is just that. You got to get the nervous system excited, and if you don't do that, I mean, it's like if I go up to a dog and grab his tail and start wagging it back and forth. Right? What does that mean? I mean, is the dog happy? I can't wag the tail and then make the dog happy. So, same with the warm-up. I can't just go through the motions of a warm-up when it's warm-up time and expect the central nervous system to be excited and to be ready to train and really execute the demands we need to do. So I say the training session starts the second my child, mom and pop, pro athlete walks in the door of the gym. And that's just engaging them. No matter what I'm doing, I'm engaging them the second they walk in the door. I want them knowing that I want to send out that energy. And really the culture where I work at Fitness Quest 10, I mean, that's from Todd. I mean, we want you to engage the second you come in the door. But when I get into that situation where I am responsible for bringing their central nervous system to a level that we need to be to train, I like to throw different things in. I like their nervous system to be a little confused, not for 10 whole minutes where it's just mass hysteria, but I like to have new little things or just a little tweak that I put on a drill so that they're learning constantly and there's a demand for them to grow. So I don't have a list of 8 exercises. They just show up and we go through every single time. That's a great streamlined thing, and that's also a very scalable model. If I own 15 gyms, I think that I probably would have that. However, I also want to empower my trainers and give them the ability to say, hey, listen, it's not about just going through this sequence. It's about getting them excited. So going from that, everyone's going to be into something a little different. If I have kids coming in, there's going to be some little games that involve coordination, that involve some of the coordinative strategies that we're working on in our plan that are going to get them excited. And depending on the age, I might be, I actually have some DVDs out on Commander B. And they may show up and I'm Commander B and we go on a mini 5-minute adventure. And that's one of the things I do when I speak at Ideas. I have this Commander B adventure, and it's using imagination, and you're navigating around an imaginary environment. And that works great for kids up to about 8 years old. My moms and pops, they come in. We might start shadow boxing. We might start with the women. They like to dance. We might turn the music, and it's dance. I'm beyond getting embarrassed. I really don't care. I'm in the profession of giving of myself to make people better. So I might have a pro athlete come in, and we're going to box. We're going to do something that gets them focused in. And then the next hour I might have a housewife or a dad or anybody that come in, and it's completely different. We might be dancing. We might be shadow boxing. We might be kicking a soccer ball around, dribbling a basketball. Something that gets their central nervous system excited beyond the list of 8 or 9 exercises I got written down.
My background is definitely in that college and higher kind of level, and I'm always learning now, or I'm trying to learn even more, I should say, about working with younger athletes and also the general population, I don't want to call them the fat loss community, but the people that are just looking to quote unquote tone up and trying to retake younger years, I guess. And I mean, what are some exercises that I need to start considering, or maybe even from a need to do scenario or need to watch out for when you're working with those two type of demographics?
I'd say my favorite exercise, and this kind of goes into these have gotten really popular lately, but it's hard to beat crawls and crawl patterns for both those demographics. It's really hard to beat that for a variety of reasons. And for one, it's push-ups are out the door. When I get out of shape, mom and pop, they're not going to be able to do push-ups. That's generally the gist. And so I'm not going to say, okay, my program says you need to do 20 push-ups to do 20 horrible scapular, elevated, head bob, butts up in the air push-ups. I'm not going to do that. And the same with kids. We know that kids' strength-to-weight ratios are awful. It's just what we're dealt right now. So push-ups are just not that effective off the bat, but teaching crawl patterns where you're just supporting your body weight and putting that cross-coordination, getting those contralateral movement patterns, that is probably my favorite exercise. And I wouldn't say it's with my moms and pops it's their favorite. They understand, but it's the type of thing when you do, you can feel that, hey, this has got to be doing some good. And so they've grown to appreciate it. The only issue with that, obviously, is you get wrist issues and things like that, and you have to work around that. The things to watch out for with the kids, number one thing to watch out for is just things that are leaving them frustrated or they just can't do well. We've lost, it seems that in the programming that I've seen, we've lost the idea of a personal trainer or strength coach being a coach. All of a sudden, it's just this cheerleader that throws exercises at people and just says, go, 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 hardcore, 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 and turns up the music. And, yeah, that's part of it. You got to get people excited, but we can't forget it doesn't matter who you're working with. You're a coach. And unfortunately, I think boot camps are great. I think a lot of these adult fitness classes are great. I think, however, the idea of coaching has gone out the door. And so people are getting kids in, and it's just becoming, okay, I wrote down this list of exercises, so do something that looks like these exercises. And, yeah, the kids are moving. I think that's great. But there's ways to coach without making things dry, without making things boring, and without making it a situation where the kids don't have fun. And that's part of being a great coach, learning how to coach different ages, different sexes, different motivations. So those are the two things. The exercise I love is crawls, and I got the whole list of stuff I love. And the thing to watch out for is just not coaching. And also plyos with plyometrics with adults. I'm not saying don't do them, but you have to realize you got a body that's unbelievably unprepared, just unimaginably unprepared. They literally may not have moved outside of a seated or walking position for 20 years. And to have them just, okay, now we're going to have you throw your body up against gravity and hopefully you can decelerate an accelerated body weight into the floor. Hopefully you can decelerate that when you can't even do a body weight version of that movement. I would just be very careful where you use plyometrics with. I'm not saying don't use them, but be very cognizant of the fact that there's a very, very high cost on the body when you start jumping around and decelerating and doing all those different things.
If you could you do me a favor? If somebody came into you and said that they were interested in a fat loss type program or even a body composition change as an ultimate goal of theirs, I mean, can you tell me a little bit about how their program would be different than working with, let's say, just a typical athlete or even someone that's young, again, chronologically young training age-wise, whether it's a young individual or a young kid?
The way those differ is the number one thing with the athlete is they're feeding their family with the results here. So I'm going to look at a very specific chronologically. So it's going to be, okay, how long do we have to get you in the shape you need to be objectively? Body fat numbers, what do they want to see in spring training? What do they want to see OTAs for body fat? And so we're going to go to that. I'm going to outsource that information most of the time. I'm going to go to a professional. I'm going to get them linked up because this is literally how they feed their family. They can't mess around. With an everyday mom and pop, I've learned this from 20, 30,000 hours of training with people. What they say they want and what they really want can be two different things, and I've learned that, and I've been able to help people a lot more when I discover that. When mom and pop comes and sits in your office during a consult, they're executing a very careful, this is the script. They're saying what they're supposed to say because you're a stranger, you're very fit. It doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman sitting in that office as a new client. You're in a very vulnerable position. You're not going to go in. You're going to go in and say, hey, I want to lose fat. I want to lose weight. I want to yada, yada, yada. Yeah, because you're supposed to say that. You're not going to say, hey, I feel like crap. I have no self-esteem. I haven't had sex with my spouse in a year because I have no self-confidence. I don't feel – you're not going to say that. And so I've learned that the program that I'm going to put them on is not going to be a templatized program. I'm going to look and see, okay, where are you really at with this? I'm going to give them some homework. And if they don't do that homework first week, yeah, I'm going to be a little frustrated. But in the same note, I can kind of see where they're coming at. They're coming to me for an escape, and they're coming to me for some life improvement advice, and under the guise of, fat loss and weight loss. If I can provide a positive scenario, giving them a positive situation that they enjoy, that follows a progression, that makes them feel better than when they came in, they're going to get what they said they wanted, and they're going to get what they really need to. And that's kind of a careful dance, and that's very subjective, and that kind of came from experience. Now, when kids come in, when we look at, the pro athlete's dead set, I'm holding them any day. When the mom or dad comes in, I'm going to give them some pretty squared away advice. I'm going to kind of see how they deal with it and scale it from there. But with kids, it's a matter you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. With kids, the number one thing I want to do is empower them for the future. So if they come in and mom and dad, I've done this out in the office, mom and dad in tears saying, little Susie, little Johnny needs to lose 30 pounds or obese. Well, I'm not going to that child and saying, yeah, you need to lose 30 pounds, you're obese. I'm not going to say, hey, I need you on the elliptical for an hour a day. I want to get a rapport with them so they trust me. I want them to learn that activity doesn't have to be, most of the time some of these overweight kids are not into sports. They're horrible at PE, they're horrible at sports. It's a negative experience for them. And they might be into video games. And I'm not stereotyping here, but let's say that's because these are the kids that really need our help, by the way, is the kids that have no interest in physical activity. So you're into video games. Well, guess what? We're going to have a conversation. I don't know anything about video. I never passed Mario 1. I know nothing about video games. But we're going to have a conversation. Okay, tell me, oh, wow, that's awesome. Tell me about that video game. Okay. And I'm working that into a conversation, getting a rapport, and then when it goes into the exercise program, depending on how young they are, I may work that video game. Okay, now we're in Ghost Recon, and now we're going to go, and I need you to hide behind that cone, and then you're going to run, and we're going to get behind that mat, and I need you to jump over these three. And so we'll set up these coordination, and this is the way we do our summer camps, by the way, and we have everything from elite-level athletes to autistic kids taking our summer camps, because the way we have it up, it allows for that sort of rapport with the coach, and then the way we divide up stations and everything, it allows for some creative governance of those to allow those kids to do it. So it's more of a psychological approach than a physical approach, because when it comes to the actual exercises, that's going to depend on what exactly works for each individual. But that's more the overall psychological approach I take to each.
Since you and I since I got eager enough to try to get you on the show here, from watching what you got going on, one question I had a little bit of a personal agenda, and I wanted to know, where you're finding demographics to reach out to really inspire young individuals to grow. How are you becoming a well-respected professional in your community? What type of people are you reaching out to really help elevate or get kids off the couch, I guess you could say?
Well, it really started where we've had our biggest successes with big groups of kids, and I keep saying that I want to get to the kids that we can help, and kids that love sports. And there's kids that still have problems with weight and they have self-esteem problems, and we help them as well. But it's trying to get to those kids that might be sitting at home and they don't want to go outside. And part of that is educating the community and getting parents to understand through involvement in the community newsletters, when the community has fairs, when the community has community events, setting up booths, and really showing that, hey, I'm going to go talk to the kids that are walking around with their Game Boy versus just the kids that are rolling in packs with the football in their hand. And the parents see that. They read the writings that's in the newsletter that we provide, and then they come into our facility and they see that approach, and their kids get excited. We try to connect with those kids, and we've had relationships with psychologists that work with obese kids that send us kids. We've had relationships with doctors before. And so that's how we've addressed that. That's not really a marketing thing. We can't really put something in a neighborhood newsletter saying, hey, this is an obese kids class or obese kids group. That's not going to work. And so it's very organic. When it comes to working with the athletes and getting kids in the door so where we can change their life, working with coaches and clubs has been very successful, starting by educating the coaches, educating the parents, and then offering free injury prevention. That's a great angle to take, because that's really the problems with kids and sports injuries. It's reaching epidemic levels. And so if we can address that and say, hey, for your youth softball league, we'll come out, we'll do a night where we offer this is a free clinic for injury prevention. They go home with all kinds of free stuff. And so in that, we're able to impact 100 kids at a time. They're going home with information that can literally change the future of their physical activity. And if they hopefully we made an impression on them, they can come into our business and we continue that relationship. But sometimes it stops at that. They get free information and we get an email from the parent 6 months later saying, hey, this was amazing. My kids have really taken to this. And either way, it's obviously we operate a business and we love them to come in where we can impact them like that. But, when we have that opportunity to even reach out to the community in any way, we're not only helping these kids and parents and imparting them, but it's great for our ability to reach even more kids.
I know you get a chance to present a lot, and again, you're using social media in a very positive way to inspire others to achieve greatness. If somebody came to listen to you or got a chance to watch you go through workouts or take people through workouts or just had a chance to follow you on, again, social media, et cetera, what's one big motivational message you would have for them?
Comes down to one word, Rob, and I've mulled over this because I came from sort of my roots were, I guess you'd call it more hardcore, hardcore strength and conditioning, elite athletes, college athletes, and that's where my roots were. And but what it comes down to is if I want to impart people's lives, if you want to change your life and you want to change people's life, the one word you need to remember is play. And it's easy for people to say, you don't understand. I work with some of the world's best athletes. Exactly. A lot of the world's best athletes have been in the same ringer since they were born, and their limitations on their performance have gotten into their head, and they've forgotten the enjoyment that they once had doing their sport, and it's become such a job that and that's why I love to watch football on TV and watch the difference of watching collegiate sports versus pro sports. Pro sports are great, the level they play, it's amazing, but that excitement and that love that you see in high school and college, you can see that through a TV monitor. And if we can remember with our kids, man, we just play. If we can just get out and yes, we need to have our programming, yes, we need to be serious, and yes, we have these unique opportunities to change the way they move, but if we can get them to have that feeling of excitement when they're 40 years old, if we can continue that feeling from the time they're 5 to the time they're 40 and 50 and 60 and 70, that feeling of excitement when they move, I think that's a win. As a matter of fact, I know that's a win. We would change if people just got that concept of exercise is not a novelty. You don't need the gym. Rob, we didn't have gyms for 10,000 years. We used to just interact when it was a nice day. Guess what we did? We said, hey, let's go for a walk because I'm going to enjoy outside. With our kids, there was a reward to go play with our kids outside. It was awesome to go outside and just interact with the world instead of saying, oh, wow, well, I can't exercise because I can't be at that 6 p.m. spin class. And it's turned into this novelty, and it's a big problem. So if you're going to put one mantra that's going to remind you to be healthy for life, if you're going to write that, if you're going to get a tattoo, it's play.
Brett, man, I got to compliment you on all the things that you're doing there. I think you're doing a great job making a positive impact on a lot of people, obviously there in the San Diego area, California as a whole, and all the way over here to the East Coast, man. I really get a chance when I do get a chance to sit down and look at YouTube and Facebook and those types of things, I definitely scroll up and I take a peek at what you got going on. I'll be very fair and very open with you there and tell you that I'm taking notes and learning from you every day, big dog. I really appreciate that you're very open with sharing information. Again, just making a big-time impact on a lot of people in a lot of different ways, and it's a great thing to be doing, and hopefully that keeps you going and keeps egging you on, that keeps challenging, because I'm going to keep poking that fire and making sure you keep leading the way, big dog. If anybody was on, listening to the show here and had any questions about anything we discussed, wanted to reach out to you for some little bit of motivation or some personal training type tips, or even how they can help out, also make a positive impact in their community, what's some ways they can reach out to you, and tell me a little bit about what else you got going on, man.
Well, yeah, the best way to reach me, obviously, brettklika.com. It's BRETTKLIKA.com. My email address, I give out my email address right now. I want to help people just through this email address, through my site, BRETTKLIKA1@gmail. If I don't get back to you in one day, I get a lot of emails every day, so I'll get back to you. And if you have to send me a reminder, I'm not offended. Please send me a reminder. Facebook, Brett Klika, Twitter, Klika, and also through I have a book out for right now. I've got another published book that's a little bit under wraps right now to everything about it, but it's coming out spring 2015. So those are different ways. The Underground Workout Manual is the book that I just created in 2011. I'm releasing a 2.0 in February with about 20 more pages of information, research, and different things in regards to essentially at-home fat loss. I got that coming out also in 2013, or actually 2014. I'll be releasing something pretty big. We're in the beginning stages moving forward with one of the most complete youth training resources available. And we're creating this from a lot of the consulting we've been doing in physical education around the nation. We had a lot of success with a K through 12, about 7,500 kids in the Midwest. And we've really, we're taking what we've done with that, and we're going to take it worldwide, actually. And so be looking for that in April. That's going to be out in April. And then some big stuff, very big. I border on the idea of just paradigm changing with the way that we work with kids, both in physical education and personal training. So I'd love to keep you updated. I'd love to help anyone grow, because if I can help you, I can help achieve my personal mission to inspire millions to live the life that they want to live. So I look forward to connecting with people. And Rob, man, keep doing what you're doing. You talk about, watch what I'm doing. You got this. You're reaching tons of people. You're changing lives, and I think that's awesome. I definitely have been following you too. So the respect and admiration is definitely reciprocated.
Well, Brett, I know you're a busy man. I know you got a young kid there that you got to take care of too. We talked about that a little bit before we got the show started, and I know it's around the holiday season, so I don't want to take too much of your time away from your family. Again, I applaud your passion, and hopefully, again, this is just another way for us to connect and continue to grow a relationship that we can help others, and along the way have a lot of fun doing it, my man. Again, I applaud all the passion that you're sharing, and I look forward to just keeping in touch, big dog.
Great. Thanks a lot, Rob. Keep it up.